Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and good news. This is completely subjective, but I feel like it is a fairly good and fair reference. According to the 2023 NFL Improvement Index, we are the 7th most improved team through March 19th. So up until March 19th, again, no major moves have happened since then. We are the 7th most improved team in the NFL, the highest out of any NFC East team. The Giants are 11th, the Cowboys are in the middle, and the Eagles are dead last. So of course we got to take a look at all of our free agency additions and losses to see why we're the 7th most improved. We got to take a look at the rest of the NFC East, each individual team, to see why they're lower than us. And then I also want to take a look at the Bears, because the Bears are number 1 by far. And this was kind of obvious coming into the offseason, especially free agency, because the Bears had the most cap space in the NFL by far. So nobody should be surprised. But I want to take a look at what they did, what they gained, what they lost, and why they're the most improved team as well. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you pull up every Sunday for the Commanders Call In live show. Call in. Make sure you pull up. We talk everything that's going on with the Commanders. We could talk about coaching. We could talk about the fact that we still don't have an offensive lines coach, even though we're signing all of these offensive linemen and interviewing and bringing so many in for visits for upcoming draft prospects. But we could talk about film session stuff, mock drafts, everything for agency and draft. Stay tuned. Without further ado, let's get it. All right, again, so let's start with the Commanders because we matter the most, and that's objective. We are the 7th most improved team according to the 2023 NFL Improvement Index. It's a lot of advanced statistics that go into this. This is not just one person doing this. There's a lot of math and a lot of people to play a part in how this data comes out this way. And so say what you want, either way, a lot of people out there think that we're having one of the worst free agencies ever. It can get worse. Oh yeah, it can for sure get worse than what we've done. Granted, we didn't sign any top names, but again, what Rivera and company are doing is signing a bunch of guys, filling in all of the holes and weaknesses we have so that we don't have any glaring ones, so that we can go best player available for the draft. And I like that. Now, I still would love to bring in an additional linebacker. I think it's nonsense that we let David Long go to the Miami Dolphins for that cheap. I think it's nonsense that we brought Anthony Walker in and then he just ended up going to the Browns anyway. I feel like he went to meet with us just to gain some leverage against the Browns. He planned on signing back with those guys anyway and probably charged us more money than what the Browns ended up giving them. But still, it's ridiculous how much we neglect the linebacker position. I understand why, because we don't really use linebackers. We had a top 5 defense with Cole Holcomb hurt, Jamin Davis our only real linebacker. Khalil Hudson didn't even get a chance to play well into that last game against the Cowboys. We had David Mayo out there, John Bostic out there at a certain point. We still produced a top 5 defense and a lot of different metrics, at the very worst top 10 defense. That's because the defensive line is so dominant and this secondary is only getting better and better. So there's a reason why they're like, we'll figure out linebacker on the way, but I still would prefer to shore that up so that we can have the best defense in the NFL. I don't feel like that's that hard to add. I don't feel like that's too hard to ask for, but you know, we'll see. But other than that, man, I don't think people need to panic as much as they're panicking about our free agency moves so far. We're filling up a bunch of needs. We're making it to where we don't need to draft any particular position going into the draft. We can take whoever the best player is available, no matter what position it is, because that's how you build a better team long down the road. Long term, if you're drafting best player available and you end up doing that over the course of a few years throughout every position group in football, you're gonna have the best team. But if you just keep drafting average guys, mid guys, reaching on guys because you just have this big glaring hole at a particular position, that's not smart. Maybe if you feel like you're a Super Bowl contender, you just really need this one position to at least improve slightly, then I understand. But we're not necessarily Super Bowl contenders right now. We're not even exactly sure how Sam Howell's gonna look out there. So best player available is easily and by far the best thing we can do right now. And the way that we're handling free agency is the best way to go into the draft to be able to do that. So I'm not too mad at it. Of course, I would love to go out there and get Bobby Wagner. Again, I'm upset about us not even getting David Long at linebacker. I wish we could have gotten some better offensive linemen. I wish we could have gotten some really good corners, especially like a Jamil Dean, but he seemed like he wanted to stay with the Bucs anyway. The cornerback free agency class wasn't that great to begin with. with. The linebacker class has a lot of notable names, but we were never getting Tremaine Edmonds anyway. I didn't even get my hopes high for that one. And then any of the offensive linemen that we truly wanted were going to be way too expensive anyway as well. So this pretty much went exactly how I expected it. We were actually signing more guys than I expected. We could talk about the caliber of guys, but as far as like free agency moves and constant updates, especially how soon we were on it, I was pleasantly surprised. But let's get to it. All right, so as far as a net positive, the guys that we added, we have Andrew Wiley from Kansas City to us. We have Nick Gates from the New York Giants to us. We have Jacoby Brissett, the quarterback from the Cleveland Browns, to us, of course. And then you also have linebacker Cody Barton, defensive end Abdullah Anderson, and guard Trenton Scott. And then technically, Drew Himmelman and Cam Dantzler don't count towards these because that technically wasn't free agency. It was before free agency. They were released in a way to where we like claimed Cam Dantzler off waivers. And then Drew Himmelman was released in a way to where he was technically a 2022 free agent. So that's why these guys don't technically count towards this. So if you believe in Drew Himmelman's potential or Cam Dantzler's potential, that means we improved even more than this 2023 NFL Improvement Index even gives us credit for. And then of course we also re-signed Danny Johnson, re-signed F.A. Abada, re-signed Tyler Larson. I don't believe any re-signings count towards that though, especially like Deron Payne and things like that as well. I don't think those count. I think it's just only who you added and who you lost. And so as far as who we lost linebacker Cole Holcomb to Pittsburgh. We lost guard Wes Schweitzer to the New York Jets. We lost Bobby McCain to the Giants. We'll talk about him a little bit later when we get to the Giants. We lost wide receiver Cam Sims to Las Vegas. And then we lost quarterback Taylor Heineke to the Falcons. And the 2023 NFL Improvement Index feels like we definitely netted positive in that way. You could argue Nick Gates cancels out Wes Schweitzer. I would say Jacoby Brissett is a net positive over Taylor Heineke. There's a reason why we're paying him more money. You can argue that Cody Barton at the very least has a higher ceiling than Cole Holcomb. Not a higher floor, but Cody Barton at his best. And I can't wait to see what he looks like behind this dominant defensive line that he did not have in Seattle to keep him clean. Cole Holcomb had that for Washington. I don't know what he's going to look like for Pittsburgh when he doesn't have all of these Pro Bowlers and all pros in front of him. So you could argue Cody Barton could potentially, not today, I'm not putting my life savings on it at all, but potentially could net positive over Cole Holcomb. We'll see how Cam Dantzler compares to Bobby McCain. Bobby McCain obviously has the higher floor, but Cam Dantzler, with him being as young as he is, has some potential, and I love his hustle. He gets beat quite a bit on film, but he hustles. And then on top of that, we potentially signed a starting right tackle, and we'll see what we get out of Abdullah Anderson. So, hey, at least we netted positive. According to the 2023 Improvement Index, they feel like we netted positive by a lot, by almost 20 points. That has to be Jacoby Brissett and Andrew Wiley carrying that, because like I already explained, everybody else pretty much cancels each other's out. And then let's just go ahead and talk about the Chicago Bears before we get to the rest of the NFC East. They gained Tremaine Edmonds, guard Nate Davis, defensive end DeMarcus Walker, linebacker TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds are great signings. Quarterback Phillip Walker, running back Travis Homer, defensive tackle Andrew Billings. I forgot about him. Robert Tonyan Jr. at tight end, and Donta Foreman at running back. And don't forget inside linebacker Dylan Cole from the Tennessee Titans. Not as good as David Long, but a young guy that they're going to try to work with. I mean, they brought over 3 linebackers. That's really interesting. And then they lost outside linebacker Matthew Adams to the Browns, running back David Montgomery to the Lions. They got David Montgomery because Jamal Williams, I believe, went to the Saints. So kind of like a little running back carousel in a circle. Then you have tackle Riley Reif, who went to the Patriots. And then Nicholas Moreau, the outside linebacker, went to the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, yeah, I can see why the Chicago Bears are the most improved team in free agency. That Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards pickup is crazy. And don't sleep on the Robert Tonyan pickup as well. Don't sleep on Nate Davis either, the guard. So, hey, man, I can see it. I definitely see it. DeMarcus Walker may be a little underrated from Tennessee as well. They brought in 3 Tennessee guys, Nate Davis, DeMarcus Walker, and Dylan Cole. That's really interesting to bring over that many people from the same team in one free agency. They didn't re-sign anybody, which is also a little weird. Not any of their unrestricted free agents that they bring back. I mean, of course they traded away Roquan Smith, so that doesn't count towards this improvement index thing at all, but that's really interesting. They have almost 40 points, double we have, but again, that's a pretty big gap even to the guys in second place who are the Houston Texans with a little over 30 points in improvement. Then you have the New York Giants, who are in 11th place, and they gained Bobby Okereke, the linebacker from the Colts. Raheem Nunez-Roches, the defensive tackle from the Buccaneers. Paris Campbell, the wide receiver from the Colts. And man, if he realizes his potential, it could get dangerous. But I mean, we haven't really seen him much. He's either hurt or underperforming anyway. So I hope we don't have to worry about it too much. But I love Paris Campbell coming out of the draft. I mean, most of us like Paris Campbell more than Terry McLaurin just because Paris Campbell was faster. He was featured more in the Ohio State offense. So it made a lot of sense. But Terry McLaurin is, of course, way and beyond the better wide receiver. So I'm not too worried about Paris Campbell, but that man has some potential to him. Then you have wide receiver Jeff Smith from the New York Jets, and I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you and act like I remember who that is. Then you have Amani Oruwariye, the cornerback from the Lions, who already had cornerback problems, so I'm not too worried about him. They picked up Jamison Crowder from the Buffalo Bills, a long path from the Washington Redskins at one point in time. And then they also picked up our boy, cornerback safety Bobby McCain. But then they also lost free safety Julian Love to the Seahawks, center Joe Feliciano to the 49ers, and then guard Nick Gates, who we signed to us. They also re-signed a couple of guys, but as far as additions and subtractions, that's all that matters. And so, yeah, they slightly improved. Again, Paris Campbell has some potential to him, but I wouldn't bank on him realizing it. I mean, we saw the whole Kenny Golladay thing worked out for him. We saw Kadarius Toney worked out for him. So the Giants, whether it be through the draft or free agency, bringing in receivers that have yet to reach their potential have not worked out yet for them. So I wouldn't bet on him working out, but Paris Campbell was something serious at one point in time coming out of Ohio State. Then the Dallas Cowboys, middle of the pack, basically neutral. They didn't really gain anything. They didn't really lose anything according to this improvement index. They gained tackle Chuma Adoga from the Falcons. They gained Ronald Jones, the running back from Kansas City. Not really worried about him. And I really liked him coming out of USC, but it just hasn't worked out. They gained Vegas long snapper Trent Sieg. And then that's it. I mean, they lost guard Connor McGovern to the Bills. If you ask Cowboys fans, they're probably going to act like that doesn't really hurt them. But I like Connor McGovern's potential. They lost long snapper Jake McCourty. So they brought over a long snapper from the Raiders because they lost theirs to the Lions. They also lost tight end Dalton Schultz to the Texans. They also lost the receiver Noah Brown to the same team, the Texans. And they lost linebacker Luke Gifford to the Tennessee Titans. And then everybody else are just re-signings. So you can kind of see why they pretty much ended up neutral in that situation. And then you have the Philadelphia Eagles, dead last by far. They say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the second worst team in the improvement index. They have them losing somewhere around like 37 points in improvement. They have the Philadelphia Eagles losing somewhere around 55 points, like by far the worst improvement index, like by far. Let's talk about what they gained before we get to what they lost. They technically gained quarterback Marcus Mariota from the Falcons. They gained Rashad Penny, the running back from the Seahawks. A lot of potential, just got to stay healthy. Outside linebacker Nicholas Moreau from the Bears, not much. Safety Justin Evans from the Saints. And then cornerback Greedy Williams from the Browns. A lot of potential coming out of LSU. People thought he was supposed to be like a whole first round talent and everything. We'll see if he realizes it for the Eagles. We'll see. But boy, with they lost tackle Andre Dillard to the Titans, defensive tackle Javon Hargrave to the 49ers. That was breaking news when it happened. Guard Isaac Samalo to the Steelers, safety Marcus Epps to the Raiders, quarterback Gardner Minshew to the Colts, and that's pretty underrated. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, safety to the Lions, and that was one of the Lions' best signings this offseason. So, of course, that's a big loss to the Eagles. I mean, they just traded for him for that Super Bowl run, though. And we already looked at the cap space and knew even before the season ended that, man, how are they going to pay all of these guys? They still got to figure out how they're going to pay Jalen Hurts long term. And then linebacker TJ Edwards went to the Bears. Running back Miles Sanders went to the Panthers. Kazir White, the outside linebacker, went to the Cardinals. And wide receiver Zach Pascal went to the Cardinals as well. Yeah, it's ugly for them boys, man. It's quite ugly. Now, they still have some more free agents out there. Ndamukong Suh, Robert Quinn, Linval Joseph, and Rick Lovato that are still lingering out there. But all of those guys are at the very youngest 30 years old. They probably won't end up bringing them back anyway. If they do, it'll probably be for very cheap. And neither of those guys are really huge impact guys at this point. So, yeah, Eagles, it looks pretty ugly. Y'all had one really fun season, and y'all still have a lot of potential. But once that quarterback isn't on a rookie deal anymore, things start to get ugly like this. This is what happens when you build around a quarterback on a rookie deal. You were that close to winning the Super Bowl, and it would have been worth it. And you can still argue it was still worth it, but I do want Eagles fans to know that the future is not very bright. Still pretty bright though. Y'all keep drafting well. Y'all have that Saints first round pick. Y'all are gonna get a great player in this upcoming draft, but things definitely aren't looking as optimistic going into 2023 as they were for 2022, where all you were waiting for was Jalen Hurts improvement, and he did just that, and that's why y'all were in the Super Bowl. Now Jalen Hurts is not necessarily gonna have to carry, but whoo, that team definitely isn't as good around him as it was last year. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Let me know if you agree with these improvement index ratings and my breakdowns of everything. Also, shouts out to all of my sponsors. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Definitely want to shout out my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.